Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe. Well, it's Wednesday, you know what that means, it's patch day, and with it comes another new weapon for us to try out. But today isn't just any old weapon, it's one we've been looking forward to for quite some time. That is the tenor rapier, the Destreza. So, what does it have in its arsenal that really puts it apart from the other melee weapons? Well, for a start, it's the first weapon in its class, so there isn't really anything to compare it to. But with 75.1 base damage with the majority, 63.8 coming in the form of puncture, 1.9 as impact, 9.4 as slash, definitely in the higher end of the lighter weapons, although it does make it joint top puncture based weapons in the game in terms of the melee weapons, and that is equal with the side-on at the moment, and that makes it fantastic for heavily armoured targets like the Grineer and the corrupted enemies in the void. Its supplemental stats are pretty decent as well, 20% critical chance with a 200% multiplier, really making this crit build very useful, and combining it with its base 1.0 attack speed, combining that with Berserker from the crits, this thing can be pretty quick as well. As well as this, it gets a fantastic slam knockdown that ragdolls nearby enemy units, which seems to be affected by range mods like Primed Reach. Now there are a couple of downsides as you can imagine. Firstly, with it being all puncture, it's going to suffer against fleshier units as well as the more shielded ones, and with only a 5% status chance you can all but forget elemental status procs being a thing. The range on it isn't the greatest either, with it being more of a single target dueling weapon. That was honestly to be expected. It's also not a particularly cheap weapon to build, with it needing 10,000 alloy plate, 1700 plastids, 5 nitane, the alert resource, and 2 argon crystals. Now those 5 nitane could be a pain to get if you don't have time to be logged in constantly for those alerts. Now in addition to that, the stance drops from the Manic Bombards and Draekar manics on Uranus, which is going to mean that the stance is going to be an absolute nightmare to farm, which is definitely a downside to the weapon, because a stanceless weapon is often not ideal. Now talking about that stance, I don't often talk about stances when doing a melee weapon video, but this is one I actually want to talk about. Deceptive Lunge and Dual Secrets combo, both are very easy to pull off, and both start with an opening hit that actually hits twice with a guaranteed 100% slash proc, and then it carries on from there, absolutely shredding anything that gets in the way. However, the one I really want to talk about is Hidden Flourish, which starts off with double hit with the slash proc, into a charge attack, then into an insane multi-hitting attack, followed by a standing finisher, stabbing them in the throat dealing finisher damage, followed more often than not by the target falling to the ground and having a ground finisher to finish him off on the ground. The combo, if you can pull it off, is insane. As you can see in the footage, I'm taking down level 105 corrupted heavy gunners and corrupted bombards in a single combo. This can be pretty tricky to pull off, especially in the heat of battle, but maybe you more seasoned melee players will be able to pull this combo off more regularly, more easily and more fluently. In terms of getting the most out of this, personally I would use Dual Secrets combo more often than not on the trash mobs, and then Hidden Flourish combo to absolutely annihilate the heavy units. Okay, so let's start to mod the Destreza. Now, it does come with a polarity. It comes with the V polarity as standard and a dash in the stance. Now, I have added a former to this because I was messing around with Primed Reach. However, you do not have to former it for this build whatsoever. Primed Reach was fun, but I found this to be way more effective for the stance on the actual weapon. So in terms of modding, how are we going to mod this? Well, we're going to start off with our stance, which is going to be Vulpine Mask. We're then going to go Pressure Point, and we're going to go with Sword Strike, which isn't a mod I use very often, but that minus to the attack speed is something I want just to make the combos that much easier to pull off. We are going to counter that with Berserker a little bit, which is going to increase the attack speed every time we crit. So we're going to increase our crit chance with True Steel, and crit damage with Organ Shatter. And we're also got Life Strike on here. I've got on with a max Life Strike because I like just channeling once, getting all my health back, especially since this is not a wide multi-hitting weapon. Just having that max Life Strike is something that I prefer. I know a lot of people do go with a low rank, maybe a rank 1, maybe a rank 2, maybe a rank 0. It's definitely down to personal preference, so mess around with that and see how that works for you. Now those mods are remaining the same between all 3 builds, however we're going to max out our elemental damage. So for the heavy grenadier we're going to go with Molten Impact and Shocking Touch for radiation. For the corpus I've gone a little bit different. This is actually something I don't do very often, but I've gone with a full toxin build, Fever Strike and Virulent Scourge for max toxin damage, and I found this to be way more effective than trying to go for magnetic. Just cutting straight through those shields, going straight for the health, I found way more effective on a melee weapon. And in the Void, Fever Strike and Shocking Touch for the corrosive damage, and if you're going 4 CPs into the Void, then switch out Northwind for Shocking Touch, and then you've got the viral damage that you need for that. So after all of this, do I think it's worth the stance farm, the Nitane farm, and then the maxing? The answer to that is, oh hell yes. Look, let's be honest here, you all know my boredom with melee, with everything feeling the same, nothing feeling genuinely different from each other. But the Destreza is something different. On the surface, I just thought it was another single-handed weapon that didn't sort of play any differently to something like the Dragon Nakano or the Draekar Prime. However, when you look deeper, and especially with the stance mod for it, you can see that the stance is coming after charge attacks have been reintroduced. They're actually being properly integrated into the stance, where I feel like the pre-charge attack introduction, those stances haven't really done that yet. The Destreza is the first weapon I've actually sped up just a little bit with the use of Berserker, but kept it in check with Spore Strike, not just for the extra damage that it causes, but to try and make the Hidden Flourish combo that much easier to pull off when you're going very quickly. Now it does take a lot for me to get genuinely excited about a melee weapon. It's one thing to say a melee weapon is good, which I can do without actually liking the weapon itself, but the Destreza has blown me away. The damage this thing puts out is scarily good, and I would put it among the top weapons in the game. I know a lot of people will turn their noses up at the fact that it's puncture based, and that slash will scale better, which is true, but with the introduction of sorties increasing enemy armor, and those that want to solo Grenier or solo the Void, just saying use slash and use full corrosive projection doesn't cut it. People want to do things solo against armored targets, and a puncture based beast is what does them best, and the Destreza is best for that, without question and without competition. Now guys, expect a video today or tomorrow, just doing a quick little channel update as what's going on in the next couple of weeks, since it's going to be a busy time for me. So as always guys, many thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.